So you defied the Order and made a progeny.
Jacob Pod can fix it!
Yes, Jankum. Now you can rest. Request denied.
Why did she betray us?
She met a boy.
That's how it goes. Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, Episode 16, Preludes, has been released here on this Thursday, December 1st, 2022. But we're just getting started of our review here on Live Long and Podcast, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch, or you might be listening to us on the audio version. I'm Dave Mader, and I got the same crew. We're back to review another episode tonight. First introducing Davan Skelhorn. How are you doing tonight, Davan?
Not too bad, but perhaps I am the monster.
Yeah, well, you know, there was a little bit of a professional wrestling twist in this one tonight, you know, and sometimes the heel wants to win, you know, the bad guy wants to win. And also bringing in, of course, Jessica Chan, talking with us tonight about this episode. How are you doing tonight, Jessica? Good. Excited to talk about this one. We said, how are they going to top last week's? We all loved last week's episode. You know, I thought this was definitely a transition episode, you know, because they're kind of a prelude to something bigger, if you will, that's coming next. But on the other hand, I thought that a lot of the backstories that we got with some of our characters and more information was really interesting. They moved the plot along, and definitely some more things. But what was sort of your reaction? We'll go to you first, Jessica. How did you feel about this episode?
I liked it. It was fun. It had like, I don't know, I don't think I'm using this term right. Jameel's gonna probably be like, no, that's not how it works. Like it felt like a bottle episode. Is that what they call them when everything's just in one place? Like, or maybe this is a clip show. I don't know. Just had that feel of like,
this is more of a clip show.
It's more of a clip show. Yeah, bottle episode's more like, yeah,
when they're stuck in one room. I guess that was the whole thing.
Or they're just using existing sets. Like they're only using like the Enterprise or only Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I knew I'd get it wrong. Anyways, but yeah, just had that kind of like low-key feel of one of those episodes, but then also like a lot of revelations too, which was nice. Everyone had a different backstory, and yeah, it was like a lot of answers for many episodes we've been through. Like they just jam-packed this with like, oh, by the way, here's all the stuff that we haven't known till now. So
right, we got a lot with Dal last week, you know, his origins and what's kind of been going on with him, and then it's like, okay, here's Zero's backstory, here's Rock Talk's backstory, here is Jankum Pog's backstory as well, and Murph just kind of burped. Davan, so how did you feel about this one? Did this let you down, or where did you sit on this?
Well, I don't think it was good as last episode because it wasn't really like a story or anything they were telling. It was just like the catch up on backstories and exposition episode, which I have mixed feelings about, which, you know, doesn't make for like the greatest kind of watch as far as like watching a story, but I wanted to know all that information, so I'm glad we got it. I don't think they needed to jam it all into one episode, but that's one way to go about it.
It was one way to go about it. I feel like they have this quiet.
I don't know how I feel about the Jankum thing.
We got answers for the Jankum thing, though.
At least I don't know how satisfying those answers were.
I was a little bit surprised with Jankum's story. We'll get to that part, but we'll go through the order. First question here in the live chat: why is Davan in the dark?
Does it frighten you?
Yeah. Does it frighten you, Prodigy, to be in the dark? Yeah. Okay. And then a question for Jessica: what kind of tea is that?
It's a red rose orange pico in my Lulu Dallas multipass mug.
Yeah,
and that my friend Samish got me.
And before we jump in, did you ever hear about the time that Sam burnt his house down while cooking Mr. Noodles?
No, I did not know, but that's, you know, it's funny. That's like, I always pick on my brother because he put Easy Mac in the microwave without water and burnt it.
I thought it was easy.
I thought it was easy.
Yeah. This is not easy. I have to put water in.
That's a whole step.
It's a whole step indeed. Let's break through the episode. Preludes, written by pretty much everyone in the writers' room. This is not unprecedented for Star Trek Prodigy, but everyone was on this one. I think from the main writers. I think that the different segments presumably were written by different teams or different people. And so that, that made a lot of sense. Of course, Phil and Dan Hageman on here.
Do you think
Kinda
any
like
of
a
them
Star
are
Trek
like
comic
the?
book.
Do you think any of them are like
They
the
often do the
keepers of?
multi-stories.
Do you think any of
Sorry.
them are keepers of the characters?
I'm going to just jump in and say Jessica goes first.
All right. Sorry. Not there. Sorry, I didn't have a lot of coffee today. I apologize, Davan. This is why I'm having tea.
No worries. I was done.
No, I was just wondering if any of them. Do you think they're just because like each one of them has a responsibility to a certain character, or like they just? I wonder if someone's like.
Yeah, I wonder when we get to ratings if we can sync up this at all to see if like maybe the Rock Talk stories are written by a particular writer or if the Dal stories are kind of championed by a different writer or not. But I think we've seen all these names before. But usually it's only one or two of them in a given episode title. So interesting. They did this also in a Moral Store, which was kind of like the mid-season finale that we got back in February. And the directors are very interchangeable. You often see like both of these names, Steve In Chang An and Sung Shin. Are both they sometimes one of them directs it, sometimes both, sometimes there's a few others that come in and out, but animation directing I know works a little bit different than standard TV directing, but they got a cool team, and I really thought some of the visuals in this episode animation wise were stunning. In particular, I think the stuff with Zero looked amazing, and we'll get to that.
Oh yeah, I like that stuff.
But that's how there's also like the ongoing storyline of this season. Janeway is trying to find out where Chakotay is, and our crew is trying to deal with the Diviner and everything else, and they're still in the neutral zone.
I'd wager the Hagemans are writing that ongoing plot thread.
I imagine, yeah, like they're or at least leading the charge and saying, okay, we have to make sure we hit these beats with like the ongoing story, but why don't we the more we can connect the audience to the characters, the better. And so I really thought that giving this episode and last episode with lots more backstory on some of them, Dal and the ones we mentioned here, and some of them we know more than others, right? Like of course with Gwyn, like we kind of know her story, we know her backstory and everything else. That was already kind of all established with the Diviner. So that's all getting breaking down. We had like the whole prelude thing that kind of started off this episode. A piece of music.
This piece, it's beautiful.
Chopin's Prelude number 4. His work always helps me bide the time.
This is such a Janeway moment.
One of the better Chopin pieces. Most of them are a bit too jittery for my taste.
There you go. Like her and Picard, they like their classical music while they're contemplating things. They're like, why doesn't the Protostar answer our hails? Like there's kind of like this stalemate that's ongoing that they can't get at the Protostar because they're in the neutral zone and they won't answer. And we know why they won't answer, but Janeway doesn't. So that's all a bit of a mystery here. Tysus is like, well, there's a bounty out for these guys, right? But a non-Federation communication. We see like these wanted posters. This is like the bounty that I know now we have two. We have the Diviner, of course, and we'll find out that the other one is called the Vindicator in this episode. The woman we met. Yeah,
I was wrong.
She switched accents, right? Is that
a little bit or
totally.
something?
She became British when she unveiled herself. I'm not wrong, right?
No,
not wrong.
Essentia was not British.
No, it was Jaemeel.
Okay.
She's become more, but it's not full-fledged British. It's like sort of like I don't know, like
odd.
It's matching whatever. I just said that. I was like John Noble. Well, John Noble is he's Australian, hiding his accent. But it's I don't know. I related to like that James Earl Jones kind of like quasi-American British weird, like it's not anything.
It's almost like the Fraser Crane, like that Kelsey Grammer. Yeah, it's not. It's almost like a theater voice. I don't know,
like a little seasoning of British in there.
yeah, it's like not quite, but it kind of is. Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. And then they say like, well, like maybe they're just some kids who are in over their head, like Janeway and Tysus and the Dauntless are slowly trying to put this thing together, trying to get to the mystery of it all. Where's Chakotay? Who are these guys? Why do they have the protostar? There's a lot of unanswered questions from Janeway's perspective, real Janeway, not hologram Janeway, of course. But back on the protostar, they're trying to fix it up. There's a stalemate. We see Dal here is fixing it up and falling over here. And Jango Pog's like, hey, try not to break the ship while we're fixing it. He's like, Dal's like, that's what your job is. You're the engineer. And then I think yeah, they're just like, well, he's grumpy because he just found out he's an augment, and Dal's
failed experiment.
Yeah, he's like, sorry, I'm not over it after one day, just like.
I thought that was nice too, because like normally they don't really tell us how long it's been since the previous episode. This is the first time they were like, it's just been a day. It's like 24 hours, guys. Leave me alone.
Yeah, and what I did really like about this episode, where he was like, well, come on, like I this is hard, and then Gwyn's like, well, yeah, is it anything like having a supervillain for a dad, or is it worse or better, and like everyone's got a sob story, I think is what the line here is from Jankum, and that's what we kind of get here, that everybody's story can be different. I like there was a really good quote here from was it Zero, I think says it.
We each have things in our past we wish to forget. Some more than others.
Some more than others. Let's have a competition to see who has the most sad backstory. Yeah, so Rock Talk is first. And this was one of my favorite lines,
Hey, why would you read my mind?
Because I care.
I read your mind because I care.
What about that? That's not a good excuse, at least not when an X-Man does it.
No. You should bring that up in the X-Men podcast. Well, this is showing why you care, according to the Medusans. Anyway, but Gwyn, I like the relationship between Gwyn and Rock Talk. It's been really good, and she's like, yeah, you can tell us, and we get the whole story here with Rock Talk. She was like a professional wrestler, basically. It's kind of like the Spider-Man storyline a little bit.
It's like a 5-year-old or whatever she is. Like, no, I guess she's older than that.
Because this was a while ago, so she was already young. But I guess we don't know
how long ago this was exactly. Yeah. But
or how Cronin's age or whatever she's called. What is she called again?
Brakiri? Is that her species? Or
Bakar.
It could be slow, like named Star Wars species. I won't talk about.
A little bit. But I thought that the animation through all this was really cool. That Rock Talk was like the villain, like playing the Andre the Giant maybe sort of role in this professional wrestling ring. Although we didn't really find out how Rock Talk got here in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. They were saying that the tragic part was like this, and her being kind of given away and being presented as a monster. But I was like, how did she get bought by a professional battle operation in the first place?
Yeah, well, yeah, the guy who sells her to the Kazon later on is a Bolian, which I was like, why would it? Well, Bolians can be, some of them are bad, but
they're all about commerce too. A lot of them,
right?
I guess
they're close to the Ferengi.
She's so small. She might have been bought like as a baby. This could be the only thing she remembers. Really, she doesn't remember what came before this. So this is her first memory, really.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a fun side to this for Rock Talk. He's like, yeah, we put on a show, and I had my buddy who was like played the hero, and we kept getting bowls and bowls of this goop stuff, whatever it was, Nutra-goop. But it's a little bit like that a Voyager episode with The Rock in it. And when The Rock and 7 of 9 were having wrestling,
but much better. This is much better than Sunkatsi.
Sunkatsi, that's what it was. With Jeffy Combs in that episode as well.
What a waste of Jeffy Combs. God, that bothers me.
And J.G. Hertzler, who plays
J.G. Well, I actually like his character. He's the only saving grace in that whole episode.
But when The Rock does the rock bottom on 7 of 9, you're just like rolling your eyes. You're just like, is this part of the negotiation? Anyway, so I digress. But they really, yeah, the whole like arena, putting on a show in an arena, which is done a few times in Star Trek, where you're forced to perform or fight. But there's like a lot with the animation and the facial expressions on this hero guy who we never get his name, but he seemed to really care about Rock Talk and was sort of like
He didn't know his name because they speak different languages.
they couldn't. Yeah, there was no translation between them. They could only share a word or two at most. And they would do like they did this show over and over again. But there was but playing the role of the villain means people
a little bluecation.
A bluecation, yeah. Who gets a look here at Rock Talk, and is scared, and runs away. Which prompts
such a Rock Talk thing though, like just wants to be loved and give everyone hugs, and everyone's kind of like scared of her. And she's always like, "Oh, why do I have no friends?"
Yeah.
I found the hero incredibly endearing for someone that never says anything.
Yeah, no, it was like, and that's a testament to like the animation and the way this was put together. Because like a lot of it's, you have to believe these characters, and I feel like in his case, yeah, absolutely. Rock Talk coming through here.
Wouldn't he be a cool character to come back in
I
like
hope
the present?
So.
Yeah.
Like I just like, I guess you haven't gotten there in the pictures yet, the fact that he knew
what was going to come.
End result was going to be, but he still gave her the win. Like he went along with it.
He went along.
At least he gave her a nice memory of being the winner. Even
right, yeah. He's kind of like reading this situation, and then like they start throwing the fruit and the vegetables at Rock Talk and whatever. And
that was just like an improv actor. Like he knew what was happening right away and started playing along with it, like pretending to get his foot stepped on and all this kind of stuff.
I do wonder if there is a professional wrestler in the writers, because they have like a language like that, because a lot of the times the wrestlers don't, like, you have luchadors or whatever, they don't speak the same language, but they have their own wrestling like signals, the way they talk to each other to like signal what's coming next or what moves they're going to do.
I bet you there's a fan in the writers. I wonder who wrote this particular segment. Yeah, just with the crowd here and the jeers. And and just how this character really expresses so much through the facial expressions, and then is able to like come along with it, and eventually he gets it with it. But there's like a comedy.
His sword looks like the light of Galador, which is a Marvel thing, but that's what his sword looks like.
It kind of reminded me like a Final Fantasy VII sword or something, like a little bit too, but just on how big it is. Yeah, he gets hit with the fruit, and they kind of do their little thing, their little wrestling dance or battle dance here. Ultimately, with Rock, he like slips on a banana peel, I think, at one point here, and he also gives the wink here to Rock Talk, and goes along with it, and yeah, gets hit. This is where the foot gets stepped on the foot and all that stuff. Yeah, so Rock Talk gets the win, and it's a great moment for Rock Talk, but then no food. Or just a little, and you can see like that. This guy might have warned Rock Talk if he could have told her, like if you, I guess the promoter or whoever was running this underground fight ring, whatever the heck it is, would not like this, because a lot of people probably bet on the results, and there's probably a lot of gambling and stuff and money lost. And this is here where we see
results if the hero always wins.
Yeah, I'm like, well, how many times did you do this? Like, anyway, it seemed like a lot. But we see like sold into slavery. Rock Talk is, from like this. Did the Kazon bought from the bullion here? Yeah, that's a bullion on the right. So
kind of looks like a blue version of the guy from Princess Bride.
Yeah, normally bullions don't. Normally bullions don't have hair here. They're
usually bald,
but there have been exceptions. There's been usually it's women bullion, but a little bit of hair coming off of here. Anyway, the Kazon, who we have seen before, and we'll see again in this episode, but yeah, taken away in irons, and that's and then the sad look here from our hero, man, who was sad to see Rock Talk go, and that's last.
His only buddy.
His only buddy. They only had each other, you know, and so it's a sad story. You know, everyone's looking around, you know, and but she's like, well, you know, if this hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have ended up here. So sometimes, like, you know, having that perspective of your sometimes the tough things in life, you know, lead you to other things and whatever. So
She's such a good character, I think, for kids. Just be like, just because someone looks scary, it doesn't mean they're scary. Like they keep kind of sending that message home. But
yeah,
so it's good for the kids. But as a parent, you're just like, I just want to give you a hug, you poor baby.
yeah, and explain why she didn't want to be the fighter, you know, the security guard earlier on, and that as someone who, you know, I would, especially being a bigger guy in life, everyone's like, you're the big guy, so you should be this, or you should do that, you know, like maybe I don't want to, maybe that's not who I am, you know, just because of my appearance, right? So, so I definitely relate to Rock Talk on that level. Then the next story we get here is about Zero. Zero's body is kind of breaking down, and Jank and Pog wants to, you know, help fix it. And they're talking to Zero about, you know, what was, you know, I think she said, or they say, you know, I wasn't always in this encounter suit. And like, this is just visually, I love this sequence with like the stars in the sky. This ship that we see, we get a better shot of it towards the end, Davan, but it's
Milky Way there. That's what we're looking at there.
the ship that the Medusans have is a modified Olympic class vessel.
I know, right? It was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
That was one of my favorite parts of this episode. I was wondering if like that was just a coincidence, if they actually modified an Olympic, or if they just Medusan ships look like Olympic class. Just
no, this is definitely
coincidentally.
a 23rd century looking vessel. These
Certainly looks
nacelle,
like it.
these nacelles are like original series style, and yeah, so that was kind of neat.
Gorgeous.
And so we've never seen the Medusans. We've only met the one Medusan back in the original series, and now Zero. And so we got a whole bunch of them here, Jessica. They're just balls of light, you know, dancing around.
I basically wonder what they have on this ship to. How do they pilot the ship? They must have something like Zero has to kind of let them move stuff around, I guess, right?
Well, yeah, I guess how does Zero control the body? Really, you know,
Yeah.
So there has to be some kind of telekinetic abilities within the Medusans. You also see like this thing get eaten, whatever it was, this lizard by like this other thing, you know.
Guy.
And then Zero. This is Zero here. Zero's got like this purplish, bluish kind of haze compared to some of the others. And so Zero was kind of with the group, and then kind of gets separated here. Is like, gets distracted by this this light, and kind of wanders away from the group, and is coming towards it. It ends up being a trap by who else? Kazons. You know,
Kazon.
This one was like, don't stereotype, you know, like, but Rock Talk, like, don't judge a book by its cover. But these Kazons, always bad news.
Yeah, I think like the only Kazon we ever met that I even liked a little bit was the one that Aaron Eisenberg played. You got your Cations. Was one blue? No.
That spot 23.
I wish. Get out of here, you non-blue cats.
I especially liked that these Kazon were wearing the red visor that was from the Star Trek the original series episode, where which the name of the episode escapes me at this moment, but that's what Spock
don't go crazy.
Wear. Yeah. How do
But
they
that
know?
only works for Vulcans. I guess in Kazons too, but that wasn't good enough for humans. It didn't do anything.
Right. A human, this wouldn't have been enough, but I guess Kazon are an exception. And so, yeah, they have like their little electrical stick things that they're chasing Zero with. Eventually cutting Zero off from the group, who are retreating back into their ship. There's another shot of it there. And then, yeah, they have like this electrical field or something that they're able to like, you know, contain Zero with. And then eventually force Zero. Okay, there's like that's like the only real shot of the ship off of the ground.
I love it. It's like a little. It's a little like weird. It's like they took the spherical section and kind of just shoved it in.
Yeah, it's a little too long. It's a little too compacted for me. I don't like the position of the nacelles being not able to see each other. That would create a very I would create an unstable warp field, guys. You know, if we're gonna be scientific here. So
it gives me Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibes a little.
yeah,
Like,
it's like a
awkward.
tiny little Olympic class ship that's been modified in some ways. Cool looking.
They found a broken one, like that was just like split into pieces from a battle or something. And
Maybe.
just, like, kinda
Do-
stuck
do
Yeah,
we- Yeah, I wonder, do we remember how, like, who put Zero's body together? Because maybe it's just indicative of, is Zero's body, like, that's what they do? They kind of
take over
scavenge to make bits for them to kind of, like, interact with the world.
Yeah.
Well, in the original episode with Spock and all that, like the Medusan, the character, it's like an ambassador guy, and he's able to take over Spock's body for a while. He's able to like sort of inhabit Spock's body and take it over. So yeah, they can control things, and we obviously know that Zero controls that body, which I believe Zero fashioned themselves later on in this timeline, because we see here with where when Zero was Dreadnought. We find out there's more than one Dreadnought too in this episode. But yeah, that Zero here gets sold off by these Kazon guys to Dreadnought and the Diviner, and we see here when Gwyn was very much involved and very much complicit in all this, early on in her life, and I did like this transition here, where we go from.
Is it worth having a Medusan on your like slave labor force though? Because if something goes wrong, it could drive you mad or take over your brain, or it seems like quite the big risk.
It's a lot of danger. I guess there would have to be some kind of payoff. But they wanted to use Zero originally as a weapon.
Didn't know they used them to drive them crazy, so that the people on the outside were they were just kind of mindless drones. That's what they used them for, right? The ones that were outside pushing whatever around.
Yeah, I think like the worst, like the unwanted of the unwanted.
Yeah,
kind of being
your last chance kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and Zero was being used as like a weapon by the Diviner and in very nefarious means. And so there's like an apology here from Gwyn to Zero for her role in some of that. And just making them feel better. We go over to the Dauntless in the next sequence, and we finally get to see more of what's going on with this character, with Essentia. What'd you say?
British Gwyn, I called her.
British Gwyn. The Vindicator, we come to know, is her like mantle, I guess, compared to the Diviner. And there's all this explanation and kind of background. Of course, he's still got the amnesia at this point. The Diviner does. And so he needs a little bit of explanation. He doesn't know what's going on. He's emotional, and this is where we get all this backstory. We get another backstory, where Essentia explains we used to be the same age. Even though the Diviner is much older than Essentia now, that we kind of get that how in his younger years the Diviner he liked the Federation, and he was kind of like hoping to work with them. So I'm still trying to figure out what the timeline here is and what is going on, because it's not seemingly the Protostar that made first contact with Chakotay and this race. It was another Starfleet vessel, because that's not the Protostar.
No, it's the Protostar.
Is it?
Yeah, he says he remembers seeing the Protostar come out of the portal.
I think this was after everything had gone to hell on their planet.
Or it was at least starting to.
No, it had already collapsed. Everything was civil war. It was decades. And then this was like their last hope.
Oh, yes.
The Protostar shows up, and I guess they somehow knew that it was from the past. And then they thought, well, here's our last chance kind of deal.
Well, they said that the Federation wouldn't take sides in the war, and then like there was more death and destruction.
I thought that was so ridiculous, but I guess that's the way kind of zealots think, is just kind of like, I don't want anything to do with you. We're superior to you, but also, why didn't you pick a side? Come on, get involved, but also don't be involved. How dare you?
How dare you? Yeah, like they're just mad about the whole situation. It feels like, and then we see, and then suddenly a ship showed up. We see this image of a younger Diviner looking up with sort of a plan forming. And then
See,
is
this
where
animation was cool. I usually don't like the way he looks. He usually looks too Star Wars. But on this planet, all the like diviner people look really cool, and so does their planet.
this is like almost like an almost like a painting style. You know, it was a very different artistic. The way that all this flashback is given to us is very different. Neat looking for sure, and then it kind of transitions back into the modern animation we don't like as much. But yeah, like it's, you know, he's starting to remember. We're starting to see some of those facial expressions come through that we know, you know, the angry British man, or Australian guy at least, and you know, he's starting to remember. The Vindicator here breaking it down, how like Chakotay showed up and they'd gone through a temporal anomaly, guys. Also, can we talk about? So we were wondering,
This bird guy.
This Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman.
Who's the Birdman?
Well, we've seen Birdman before, like on the animated series.
Yeah, like well, we saw recently in that Lower Decks episode, right? I gotta definitely go get that. Well,
the owl people or
yeah.
the hawk people that fell in love with Peanut Hamper.
Yeah.
Keep it in your pants, sister. I'm not trying to steal your bird, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, the science advisor.
Dr. Miglamo.
Yeah.
He's the
Miglamo,
counselor on. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So maybe he's part of Miglamo's race. I don't know. But yeah, like I was like, oh, so was it just these two? Because the only two other than Hologram Janeway, who was also along for this ride. We've been through a temporal anomaly, and then all of a sudden, like all these dreadnoks show up, and basically
a body behind them really subtly, or is that I'm right? There's a dead like.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Human right back there.
Oh yeah.
So it could be that's all that's left.
It was just the Birdman and Chakotay.
Well, they also said they were
we
badly
get later.
damaged. The ship was damaged, so.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
cool seeing Chakotay again. It's like some proper Chakotay again.
Yeah, it was cool seeing like Chakotay, even though not a lie, they're having this phaser fight against the 4 dreadnoks. We get to see like look at these feet here on the Birdman. He's got like even like the whole like raptor leg and everything.
Every time you say Birdman, I can't help but hear the
Miglamo doesn't have legs like that.
No, Miglamo just has normal type legs. Human legs, I guess. Humanoid legs. It would be the way to say it. Yeah, he gets the bird guy here, and then Chakotay's just emptying his phaser at him and just takes him out. And then they're like, we took the ship, and then we see them put the what's it called?
Construct.
Ultimate
our
construct.
They should call it our last construct.
Yeah, we see the last construct. We see this younger diviner, you know, as he was, and
he looks so cool.
Yeah, and who's this guy with the mask?
I don't know.
Like
I didn't even notice that guy.
It looks like something from Lord of the Rings meets.
Yeah, it's
Star Wars, Star Trek or something. Space elves.
But the guy here on the left with the mask, he looks like I bet you we'll meet him at some point.
Yeah, I bet.
Or something will come with him. Anyway, and then we're seeing they're on the planet. They're getting ready to do their big thing. Yeah, Chakotay was a prisoner at this point, and he's able to reprogram the protostar to kind of fly away without them and into the wormhole. You know, and I just like how
only those two made it, right? It's just those two.
It just seems like there's no one left of the ship other than Chakotay and the Birdman.
I love this though. This is probably my favorite scene in the episode. This is such a Chakotay move.
Yeah,
Chakotay, like in Voyager, has shown several times he doesn't mind being stranded. There's a ton of times where Chakotay's like, screw it, let's just stay on this planet. It's fine.
Yeah,
we don't have to travel back home to the Delta Club.
Right. He sends off the protostar here, and they're like, "What about our crazy plan to destroy the Federation?" And you know, and then it flies off here. We don't really know what happens to Chakotay. That's not explained. And so we see the protostar fly into this temporal vortex wormhole, which basically puts it into Tars Lamora somewhere in the distant past, I guess, long before that. And so we come back to the Dauntless, and we're getting more of this. Like the Diviner's starting to remember. He's putting more and more of these details together throughout the sequence, and the Vindicator here, Essentia, giving more prompts. We took the last of our ships, and we were all going to try to basically destroy the Federation, one way or the other, find the protostar and continue with this plan. Most of them seem to die in this process. We all took one dreadnought each, is also what's explained to us here. So the dreadnought that they destroyed previously, he's presumably gone, but this new one is the Vindicators one. That and so they're going along, and all these ships are getting like blown up in the wormhole as they're processing. He's losing the very few survivors of this species going along.
I have a feeling that if the show gets like a long run, that these are going to be like Kryptonians. Yeah, like they show them kind of dying, but no, they're just going to have one pop up here and there for a long time. Actually, I survived. My ship crash landed something. Yeah.
Right. And the diviner keeps going here, and and she's like, I arrived like 3 years ago, basically. So but he arrived many more decades previously, so that's why he's so much older now.
Yeah. So when he said I searched for 20 years, is that total, or I searched for 20 years then he made Gwen? Because if he made Gwen, okay, because I was gonna say, man, if you made Gwen and it was total 20 years, you only waited 5 years and then you made a copy of yourself. So
Take
more
the
like
rules and make progeny.
But it's not explained to us why that was a rule. That part didn't make sense.
I guess because
they might have strict. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say probably because they're trying to erase the future, and you don't want to be stuck. If you make a kid that you love, you really have no incentive to then make sure that future never happens, right?
True.
I would say probably a rule for these basically zealots or whatever you want to call them that are
fanatics.
Yeah, they're fanatics. They're called the Order.
There you go, yeah.
She says you defied the Order.
So you defied the Order and made a progeny.
Progeny. Yeah, and she's like, but why? Why did she betray us?
Why did she betray us?
She met a boy.
We click over to Dal.
Every
I love his delivery of that, actually.
I wish she met a boy. As how it goes. So that's not even really what it is at all. But it's that's how he sees it. And then Dal's, I don't know, he's fixing something here, and they're like talking. I don't know. They get the system coming back online. I know we get Jankum's story next. I think that they're like, hey, Jankum, what about your story?
My least favorite one.
I think they have to reboot. I think that was what it was. It's all done, but they have to do a full system reboot. So
while they're waiting for that, he tells his story. I would say that Jankum's, I liked his backstory. Okay, so interesting, but a little unexpected, because he explains that he's from a pre-warp Tellar, before Tellar Prime invented
pre-Federation. He said
pre-Federation. So he's from. So he's really old.
Yeah, he's like
frozen in cryo.
Yeah, he was frozen in cryo, even though he was super young when he went out. He was an engineer trainee at the time. And there we see this rock hits the ship, and then causes these issues, which leads to him getting woken up from his cryo sleep.
And if he's from so far back, it's kind of impressive, I guess, that he can manage to work with all this new technology.
I don't know what
antique.
But yeah, so he's from hundreds of years before, right?
He's older than
Archer.
Kirk, right?
Oh yeah,
before Archer.
Before Archer, he's probably born a few decades from now, honestly. Yeah. So he was in how long he was in the cryo is not completely explained, but we can assume based on what he's saying pre-Federation. So it's at least before the 2150s. So yeah,
that part I found interesting. The part I don't like is their explanation of why he talks the way he does.
I loved that.
Is that what they were trying to get?
Hilarious.
Yeah, for sure. He talks normal, and then he gets frustrated and goes a little crazy because of this robot hassling him. But I just don't like that stuck. I thought that would have been a funny gag, but that's not something that would stick with your personality forever.
Because it makes sense, because he was on the ship. And then that's the only person he had to talk to. Then he was alone in his pod by himself for we don't know how long. And then he was stuck on a planet where no one could talk to one another. So again, he couldn't really talk to anybody anymore. So they really had no one to actually converse with until they got those translators.
Please state your full name and query.
Also, I doesn't mean how he refers to himself as Jankum Pog constantly. He only does that because the robot would never get his name right. Just who are you again? He's like, I'm Jankum.
I'm Jankum Pog.
Jankum Pog can fix it.
Jankum Pog can fix it. Yeah, he calls himself I do.
Percussive maintenance. I did it again.
It's only how many times he says I did it. It's a Jacob Pog.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly. And that's
it's-
funny because he's just like then that robot's always just like it's like state your name and position here, like your job here.
yeah, yeah, all the
You're the
time.
chief engineer, right? It's like no.
No, I'm a trainee. Yeah.
Request denied.
It's like a very mini version of that movie with was it Chris Pratt and
Yeah, passengers.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's exactly how that movie goes down.
Except Jacob Hogg doesn't try to wake somebody else up as a buddy.
Yeah.
To join. He's just like, I'll leave.
He wanted him to. He's like, can you just wake up the real engineer?
No.
He's
Yeah.
like,
No.
nah.
I thought,
Request denied.
I thought at first he couldn't go back to sleep because he'd been so long outside of his pod that he'd grown too big for it to close.
Maybe.
That's what I thought was going on. At
Oh,
first.
that would have been tragic. Here.
Oops. Fire suppression system failing.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah,
Oops.
he's tiny for a Tellarite, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a runt, if you will. Yeah, they have an arboretum on this ship, a sleeper ship of all things. But you know, interesting. He's getting electrocuted in one room. He's unclogging toilets.
But to be fair, he's the only one awake. So if the toilet's clogged, that's kind of
on
he's
him.
The only one on there.
Jacob's not fixing that.
I guess Jacob is. Yeah, you know. And so he's just going along. He's like, "Do we fix everything?" She's like, "Yes, you can now sleep."
Yes, Jenkum. Now you can rest.
And then immediately he can't get up. And it's like,
Or no, you can't.
There's not enough air. We're told, like basically, he can't get back to rest, and
They have
everyone
like a
else will
leak
die.
or something. They're losing atmosphere.
They're losing air, and the other 29 people, the Tellarites here, would die. So he decides to leave. You know, goodbye, Jenkum Pog.
Goodbye, Jankum Pog. You made for an excellent engineer.
Thank you, Boxy. And when the others wake up and ask who saved them, speak my name. Let them shout it from the stars.
Please state your full name and...
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I
Okay,
thought
maybe I like this story better than I thought I did.
it was funny. I thought it was good beats.
what I liked about it too was just putting aside the like I don't know a lot about as much as you guys know about Star Trek trivia, but I like that, you know, at first we were discussing like how could he not know? Like I don't understand how he doesn't know that the Tellarites are part of the Federation. How does he not know this? I was like, no, we thought of that. Like they did put a lot of effort into making sure that the stories made sense within the universe that exists and like explaining any kind of plot holes or what I guess we thought early on like that doesn't make sense. But
Yeah, well,
Same with how the Protostar ended up just with nobody on it from the crew. They're like, how does the Protostar just like end up there? It's because Chakotay sent it away to just crash somewhere, basically.
Kuchimoya.
Yeah, watch out.
Kuchimoya.
Oh, yeah.
He Kuchimoya'd it.
Anyway, so Jacob Bog's like, you know, I did it. Tell him everything else, and like I did like hear Rock Talk and Murph are like, yeah, you're not such a bad guy, Jacob Pog. You know, he's self-sacrifice, very noble, and that's how he ended up in Tars Lamora. And so they're talking all here. I think this is. Oh, what about Murph? What about your story, Murph? You know, he's like, well, listen, and he just gives a big burp or whatever. Of course, that made everyone likes that. You know, nice moment here. And hologram Janeway shows up, and you know they're like, "What about your backstory?" Or I think they ask her after this, but they get the proto drive back up here. Cool. They're all happy and celebrating, and then they're like, "What about you, hologram Janeway?" She's like, "Did I ever tell you about Molly the dog?"
That's her dog that had puppies when she was at the beginning of Voyager.
Yeah, before she got sent to the Delta Quadrant, before she got dumped by Mark 4 years later by
Stupid
email.
Mark. I just finished listening to the audiobook of the autobiography of Captain Janeway, read by Kate Mulgrew.
Oh yeah?
It was quite nice.
That's cool. I would like to know more about her backstory too. You know, honestly, we never got it. We got it a little bit with her father had died in an accident and all these other things, but There wasn't a ton
Oh,
about
this
Janeway.
gets into a ton of detail.
Do they explain
I'd like
why
to see
she
them do it.
speaks with like
What?
just explain why she sounds exactly like Katharine Hepburn? Has a transatlantic
No.
accent.
No.
No.
But
That's how they
good
talk in
point.
Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and here we're back to the Dauntless in the next scene. Real Janeway, checking out. She's looking at the things. She shows it to Tysus. I think she's like, "Who put out this bounty?" And I think he looks like the Diviner, a serious name for a serious individual. I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Is the quote. I was like, couldn't help but I wonder what Dad would think of that. But then she looks here at Gwyn, and realizing Gwyn is the same species as their guest, the Diviner. She's like, I think I'm gonna go check that angle out, see if I can figure anything out. And so she's heading over. Hey, security, find out anything you can about this Diviner. See if there's anything in the subspace about it. And she's kind of going along here. And then she just walks into the room here with Essentia and them and Dreadnought. I was like, they didn't lock the door, But
Yeah, see, that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. I thought Janeway was kind of wise to them and was going to get the drop on them, not the other way around.
yeah. And she's like, what? And, look in here. Who are you people? And then
Karate chop.
Karate chop.
That
to
was a
the
Kirk
neck.
chop for sure.
That was a Kurt chop. Is there anything more Star Trek than that? Just a quick chop to the back.
Maybe a drop kick.
He's like, we are going to do something now, and Janeway's vulnerable here, knocked out by the Diviner, and that is the end of this episode. That's where we're left off. Here. So I thought it was good. I don't think it was, I agree that it wasn't necessarily as, I don't know if we'll remember it as much as we remember the previous episode, but I liked it a lot. I think it did a lot to fill in the characters' backstories. I appreciated that, and I feel like I'm ready to move on to more of the other story.
Well, I think you guys pulled me in a little bit to your side. I think I'm a little more favorable on this than I was coming in.
Sam thinks Chakotay's dead.
No, he's not dead. We're gonna get the Chakotay Janeway reunion, and it's gonna be great.
I think that one, I think the reason why they showed that version of their planet as beaten up but as a painting is because it's their perspective, right? And then when we got the actual events with Chakotay, that was real, and it's because they want to indicate subtly to kids this is their version of events. But I think once we get there, probably Chakotay's fine because there's probably people that are friendly to the Federation, which is what they didn't like, so they'll probably save him. And I think probably the place is not as in wreck, as it is. It's probably like those Americans. That's what it is. Those Americans are like, our country's ruined with all these foreign people coming in, and make it sound like it's, this that. I think that's what they're kind of trying to indicate. I think it's probably not as bad as they say it is.
Yeah,
you see Chakotay swoop in on that old Olympic class.
Yeah, with all the Medusans.
Yeah, that'd be
a Chakotay driven mad by multiple Medusans. Is there in truth no beauty? Okay, so this episode where's my scroller? There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
So just on some details or trivia that's come out so far, this episode features several starship classes that had previously appeared on past series, including a Tellar cruiser, which did appear on Enterprise, a Medusan vessel from the remastered version of the Star Trek original series episode. Is there in truth no beauty? As well as
just a Medusan vessel, then, not an Olympic
Medusan vessel. But what is it? How do they? It just looked like an original series episode. Okay, so I guess we saw that maybe in the remastered version of the Is There in Truth No Beauty? Like they showed.
Should be what's on Netflix. It'll be the Netflix version. I'm pretty sure that has the remasters.
Yeah, I just there's a shot here on Memory Alpha that I guess we have seen this design before.
Yeah, all right. Well, I like the Medusan style ships other than their unstable warp fields.
Yeah, those nacelles should be dropped down a little bit more so that they can see each other. But it's got these strange tube things kind of around here. I don't know what.
Oh, maybe that resonates around the body, and that's why the nacelles work.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. So that had been seen before. That's interesting. Okay, we learned something. Okay. And what else? and of course the Dauntless itself. Okay, and that's really it for the there's not much trivia else other than stuff we've already talked about, which is they have backstories in this episode. Okay, so Preludes. Let's rate this episode.
That's what we do here.
Masquerade, which we were pretty solid on last time. I'll give this a 8.5. I liked it. Didn't blow me away, but I enjoyed it.
I'll go 8.
I'm going to 8. And Jessica?
9.
I
like it because it moves things forward. There's nothing I hate more than like just drawing out like stories that don't need to be drawn out. So I'm really happy we're moving forward. Things have been revealed, hopefully. And I like that, like that other thing not prolonging was Janeway. Like she realized really quickly that these kids are in over their heads. It reminds me a little bit of Lower Decks when they were going on about like, let Starfleet do its thing. It'll figure it out and it'll come down on the right decision. And that's what it was indicating. Like, Janeway didn't make any decisions. Then she got their backstories and now she kind of knows they're like, these are just kids and she needs to help them. So I like that it indicates that like, Starfleet, they're the good guys.
Right. I'm going to categorize this as an ensemble episode. Even though we got certain moments with different characters. Yeah, we haven't had this many writers write since the mid-season finale, but it's all the same names. Again,
guys, and not a pseudo-military at all.
So the ones where there's just the single, like Deandra, like Pendleton, what was their episode about?
Deandra Pendleton did Let Sleeping Borg Lie. Which was a 0 kind of. We kind of consider that a simple episode. So if we look at so Deandra also wrote this one, a Dal episode.
Okay, so there's not, they kind of all over the place.
So they are kind of all over the place with it. Waltke, yeah. I don't think there's a pattern here in terms of who's writing for what, but yeah. Okay, and so the next episode, just a look ahead. Where's my list? Is going to be called. Ghosts in the Machine.
Oh. Cool.
And then we have Mind Walk after that, and then the season 1 finale, the 2-parter Supernova Part 1 and 2, to round out finally season 1 that started back in 2021, guys. We recall. So, cool. Ghost in the Machine. Any theories of what we're gonna get there?
Yeah, it's gonna be about the construct.
The construct,
or maybe like getting to the bottom of a little bit of like Chakotay in there. Like, we've seen the hologram Janeway watching back what happened on the ship previously. So maybe they stumble upon the holo recordings of the prior crew, something like that could be.
Yeah. Like, are they going to save Chakotay in this story? Are we going to see any other Voyager characters? Is B'Elanna Torres
if they were on that ship with Chakotay, they're dead.
Except the Birdman. We think he might be still
Birdman.
I wonder what that Birdman's name is.
Every time I hear Birdman, I can't help but like, Harvey Birdman.
Birdman. All right. Okay, so
finds that offensive being called Birdman. Probably does.
Well, he's a bird.
And they call us humans, so
I don't know. If you we'd have to get to be friends before I can know for sure. But yeah, possibly. Anyway, they call us something else. All right, let's wrap up for tonight. Star Trek Preludes, season 1, episode 16, over. So we'll be back, of course, for episode 17, Ghost in the Machine, as mentioned, and then you should check out all of our other.
Can I say this? I find this very hilarious. This like Irish version of 7 of 9 Sam has just created.
709.
709. Oh,
709, laddie.
Is that the combo of 7, like O'Brien and 7 of 9?
Yes.
Some accidental, like Tuvix or whatever, but the O'Brien 7 of 9 version.
I loved my parents.
Chief O'Brien 7.
We have to do like a Fairhaven episode as a Star Trek radio theater at 709. We'll just be 709.
709.
709.
709. Yeah, but 709 is pretty much I think she's gonna be on Picard. I don't think we're likely to see 709 show up here. After Picard season 3, maybe. Like, I wouldn't say never, but I think for the moment, I feel
shows next.
They're using up 709 over on that show. But I think there's other characters, like certainly B'Elanna Torres or other Voyager characters, I think we could still see come in here. We saw Tom Paris show up in Lower Decks. And Tuvok, I would like to see maybe some Tuvok, I don't need any Neelix.
Yeah.
You can leave Neelix in the box, but
Well, they left him in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah, leave him where you left him. And or even Robert Picardo's Doctor, Hollow Doctor could be fun. There's a lot of other characters I would like to see. Okay, and so you should check out all of our great content here on Live Long and Podcast, a family of Star Trek enthusiasts, where we're covering all kinds of great stuff, including Star Trek Enterprise, an ongoing series. We do that on Mondays. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. We're now into season 6, going through all those episodes, watching them, rating them, reviewing them. Just did the most recent one, which we're going to do the Magnificence Ferengi next week, so check that one out. We also have
8 episode, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Locutors of Trek coming up.
We got a Treckle Trunk coming up. We got Star Trek number 2.
I heard Worf and Cisco are back together in this one, right?
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
That's Worf, right?
Awesome.
We're in Klingon garb. Yeah. Shaking hands.
And we got Lower Decks 3. We're gonna have to go through here.
Oh yeah, right. Well, that's the one we're gonna
Very
turn into
exciting.
a radio theater, right?
Yep. And this one that I didn't even know was coming out, they just put aside for me at the comic shop because they know me, they love me. Star Trek Trill.
Oh.
To continue on with the series, we covered Star Trek Klingon and Star Trek Ferengi.
Yeah.
So this
We've had very little of the Trill, even in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where you would think they would be featured more. Actually, I think we got more Trill in Star Trek Discovery now than anything else. I'd be interested to read that too. Plus, you should check out also. We're doing the Geek Tall Challenge on Sunday, right?
Oh yeah, I threw that banner up. Check it out. Boom, the Geek Tall. Yeah. I hope you're ready to defend your title. The last one was decided by a single honor point. This is a tight rematch.
I will bring honor to the house on Sunday. Don't you worry. And also, Star Trek Radio Theater, our ongoing series where we do the script reads. We have one coming up on December 16th where we're going to do Star Trek 5, The Final Frontier. Jessica playing Uhura and a Klingon and a Vulcan priestess. I'll be playing McCoy. Davan playing Cybok in this one, and all of our other friends playing various roles in this as well. It's going to be a lot of fun for our season 3 finale. You guys excited?
I have to watch to see how much singing needs to happen so I can choose a voice.
No, it's just like that one sequence, like ooh.
Whatever voice I choose, I have to sing in it. So
yeah,
I choose something I can do that way.
And Jeff's playing the rebels. Where he's like, "Ooh, what's that? Ooh, oh, is she naked? Oh, okay." That's Jeff gets all those lines. So I'm expecting big things. So check that out on the live read on December 16th and the edited version to follow. Sam wants an explanation of what is the Gital Challenge.
It means to the death in Klingon. The last one was so close I decided not to kill either Dave. So
yeah.
I can't promise that at the end of this one. If there's a blowout, somebody might have to go.
Yeah. That's honorable. That's the honorable thing to do.
Honorable.
So you got to go along.
Stake.
Plus, did you know, guys, that we are in the United Federation of Podcasts, a great network of podcasts with all kinds of great content, including the KBBBL podcast with Davan and Baker and the other guy who I haven't learned his name yet. Francis. He's there. We guys are talking about the newest, not the second episode, right, of The Simpsons.
Bart is a genius. Bart's a genius. Yeah, that one. Bart's a genius.
On Friday to talk about that. So make sure to be checking that out, as well as Hold Up, a movie podcast with Davan and Murphy, Wednesdays, right?
That one yesterday. Yeah, we did that one yesterday on environmentalism movies. 2 of the movies were about environmentalism, and then there was a terrible movie Murphy picked.
I didn't understand his pick, and we were talking about that the other night where Jaemeel was like, I don't really know why Murphy picked this movie. But
Huckabees.
I heard
It's an existentialism movie and a really bad one at that.
Oh,
But
weird.
Medicine
neither
Man.
Murphy nor I liked that movie. I love Medicine Man. I understand Murphy's complaints about it, but it has a soft spot in my heart.
Also, on Wednesdays, we have the Super Mater Brothers podcasting right now covering Survivor with Jaemeel and Jeff and Foster and me. We're almost got 2 weeks left in the season of Survivor 43, and then Big Brother Canada and Big Brother USA in the next year. Check those out. The X-Rated podcast.
It's looking like a Gilligan's Island podcast is on the way.
Well, we'll see. But Sam's pick there.
Sam's chomping at the bit. It's getting close.
Yeah. Well, Jesse still has to win. So, but Jesse, nobody like this guy that well, we're not talking about right now.
X-Rated.
X-Rated.
We got an interview with Storm coming up in a couple weeks, and we just finished season 3.
The voice of Storm.
Yeah. Voice of Storm, Alison Seeley-Smith. Looking forward to that. Joining us from Barbados.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And the Graphics History podcast with Andre.
Yeah, Jason Luke coming up. Well, that interview's done. He just has to fire it up, I think, tomorrow. I think he puts those up on Fridays. Fridays or Sundays. I think it's Fridays. Yeah, so that's be cool. Apparently you get a lot of good stories out of him.
Absolutely. And then the Hellbound podcast, Michael Chan, Alex Blackburn, Wednesdays, often Jessica Chan. Jessica, can you tell us what's going on there?
Occasionally. Oh, I'm not sure what episode they're on. I know we recorded one last, but I know Alex and his partner Vicky were going through Dahmer, which I haven't listened because I couldn't even watch the show, so I haven't listened. So I think they're doing their 5-parter. I don't know how many part series on Dahmer, and then I think I'm not sure if we posted the one that we recorded with where we talk about Barbarian and Smile, which was the.
Barbarian. Yeah, I think I saw Barbarian.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, no, it was good. And then also we have Trivial Debates, guys. Trivial Debates is our a monthly show where we have a host, 3 contestants. We argue about movies, TV, sports, music. We just did one recently, a music-themed episode with Davan hosting, Jaemeel and Eamon Mater and Ryland Forsyth competing. It was a lot of fun. Check that one out. And we've already announced our Christmas episode, our finale for season 5 of Trivial Debates. We got coming up. I'll be hosting. Can you believe it? With Davan, as well as Max Duda and Sterling Slowcock Bennett, right from Australia. This is going to be quite the affair. Christmas theme. Check that out on Saturday, December 7th.
Mate.
Yeah. Well, he's not Australian. He just lives in Australia.
That's not as fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's Canadian, but it's all good.
Just tell him he has to put on an accent for this show.
I'll try to do it. Yeah.
Or I'm going to do one.
Yeah.
My Australian accent's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I think I think you should do it, and he'll just compliment you throughout the show. And I think that's
just talk like John Noble the whole time. My progeny.
Progeny. Did you make a progeny?
About this Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I had a fruit cocktail once in Atlantic City. Mind you, I'm not a fruit cocktail kind of guy. That was a Walter. That was John Noble.
Absolutely. All right, and I think that, and let's talk about fighting games. My son, Eamon Mater, also known as Sam Jerka, he has a podcast. You should check that one out if you like fighting games. They talk about it all the time. So that's it for tonight, guys. I think we'll close the book on Preludes. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you were with us for this review. Thank you to Jessica. Thank you to Davan for being with us, and to Sam in the comments. He's going Team Davan for Trivial Debates. Give the other guys a chance. They're good guys. But we'll see. Here got World Mind. I heard Huckabees. It was a mistake.
It was a mistake.
All right. Okay, let's wrap up for tonight. Thank you for being with us, and let's play a quote out to go here. I'm going to go with this one. I just like this one.
So you defied the order and made a progeny.
Good night, everyone.